these credentials really mean?
But I went into a state of depression after
What's up guys, this is Musa. I hope you guys have been doing great. This video is about a treasure hunt. A treasure which follows its owner everywhere. So the first thing we understand is it has to be precious. Now is it gold, diamond, other gems or something similar? But you actually follow all those things. But we're actually talking about a treasure which follows you rather than you following it. So for example, if you're stuck on a very big island, Bear Grylls, right? Or you're in front of millions of people on stage, for example. So there is a treasure which is always with you. It is inside you. That's why it's so special and so precious. And the value of this treasure actually increases with time, and it's not dollar denominated, which is a wonderful thing. And this treasure is not heavy, it doesn't need any security, and you don't have to hide it in a box. And the more you share it, the value goes up and up. And this treasure is education. And before we move forward, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have made an Instagram account. Make sure to follow that for upcoming video updates. That is the IG handle. So coming back to the treasure hunt. So knowledge, skills, values, this is actually your everyday life. And the good news is that a good portion of this treasure is available for free. So a part of this education may be where you have to pay some fee, which I hope in near future may be free as well, but it may take a while. So Albert Einstein says, education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. Now that is a deep one. He also says that the only thing which interferes with my learning is my education. Now that is a lot. So that means you got to stumble upon something. It's never going to be a smooth thing. So every day has to be very exciting. It's like watching a new movie or a Netflix series. So animals eat and sleep. But human beings eat, sleep and get educated every day. And that's why we are different, right? Now having said that, we're going to go through a very interesting conversation which will give you a better insight about what education means and how do you define education in general. So let us get started and make sure to watch it till the end. So here we go.
All these credentials really mean education.
back in the day, I'm not gonna go directly to the modern education system that we have now and my experience with it. But back in the day, people have what they call the apprenticeship system, where like people go into that kind of vocation, the concept of vocation, before there was a career or a job. Like you kind of throw your life into something, or throw your life interest into something, and then you learn from having a mentor, having somebody showing you the path, and then you go from this apprenticeship phase to the expert phase, then you become a mentor yourself, and the cycle continues. And I've been reflecting on this in my own way, in my own life, and the people around me, and the kids I see. You that kind of model of learning kind of started dwindling off, and we relied on an education system that so formalized, so militarized, so systemized, that kind of suffocates some people. And you work with kids a lot, and how do you see it nowadays?
I think you make a good point. Like, you're sort of touching on the competition of education that's prevalent today. It's like all about getting good grades and like getting into the best school, the best job, but like that's not what learning is all about to me at all. I think everybody has the potential to grow into basically whatever they're passionate about with enough practice and enough guidance from the right mentor. So while I believe in formal education in a way, personally for me, I would want my kids to go to university even if they had no sense of a career path at all, just for the sake of being exposed to different ideas, expanding their mind, meeting people from different areas of the world or the country. Like, I think formal education is really valuable in that way, and I think everyone should have access to that. It shouldn't be just a certain cut of society that has access to that. I see a lot of value in that, but also like life experiences, which is so important to me too. Seeing different things in the world, traveling, it's like all part of learning.
big part of the world, people, kids specifically, don't have access to formal education. The argument in the world of like international development or like bringing these countries to the economic advantage that other countries have is you start with the education, you start by giving these kids an opportunities, or they can pass that threshold where they can compete with their peers from different parts of the world. But from my experience myself, yeah, I like it. We look at this credential and you ask me like, what is this credential? I remember I went into a state of depression after I finished my medical school, because I lived with this guy from Germany who studied philosophy and physics and art and all of that. That liberal education, that liberal art education that I really didn't have exposure to. Like I was almost immersed in medicine, science, and the world and the body work this way. But like, what about like philosophy? What about existentialism? What about the big questions that you really can't tackle through one way of education? You really have to expose yourself to the world, and you have to answer these questions on your own by the fact of going through by engagement with the world. And I think, as you said earlier, like we have this so much emphasis on education as a way to have a competitive advantage in this world. If you're going to have a career down at King Street, you have to go to finance school or have an MBA. Like when you go to the hospital, you have to have this medical degree. But most of the like amazing people I met in my life and my mentors, most of the experience that they passed on to me came from their engagement with life, whether through just broadening their horizon, through traveling or meeting new people or reading books and all of that. And that's why I find just all these activities kind of expand your horizon much more. But it goes back to the point, like, do we need a formal education? Do we really need that?
I think so. I think there's a lot of problems with the formal education system that we have right now, but I think it's important as a guide. But this whole idea that like once you graduate university, it's like education's done. I really don't believe in that. I really believe in lifelong learning, whether it's picking up a book, or watching a YouTube channel, or doing whatever, just like going for a walk around your city and learning about the history of it. I think that's what makes us human. Like I see so much value in trying to take in as much information as you possibly can before you're dead, basically.
Yeah, completely agree. And I worked in certain like rural parts of the world for some part of my life, and always been educations that come that like we're like in the West here, like we're privileged to have that. Everybody has access to complex school, like it's a kid drive to go to school. But in those parts of the world, like there was no such thing. Like you born into a world where all you know is struggle, because you have to support your family by going chopping woods or like working on a farm and all of that, and you won't have that experience that will enrich your mind and teach you what to think. And I think like not most, but a lot of our problems that we see nowadays with this like disparities among different communities basically goes back to the system we designed that disenfranchised some people from having access to that, and just like giving people access to that as they get to, just to get them over that hump, to get them over that threshold, is really paramount to their own development. And after that, you can do whatever you want to do with life.
You should have like the basic right to just not only get high school, but I think even beyond high school. And I think, university education can be overvalued. There's not enough value put on the trades and the more practical learning that you can engage in. I mean, formal university education isn't for everybody. Some people aren't motivated by that, which, then that's not going to work out for you. I don't think you're supposed to do that. You should pursue, what you're motivated by and what you're passionate about, learning. Or I think if you, didn't have the capacity to engage in university education because learning is difficult for you, I think the supports should be in place for you to try and access that level of
Was it like formal education that shaped your view of the world, or what that was part of it, or there's other parts that also shaped the way you think of the world?
When I went to university, I think I learned more from just like actually being exposed to different walks of life than actually sitting in the classroom. So it was, just meeting people that came from like high class, lower class, Northern Ontario, Australia, just like meeting all these folks. Just that was the biggest education, and that was what I think made me less ignorant, put it that way. I mean, the classroom stuff was great too, and I was like really tickled by a lot of the things that I learned in the books and in the lectures, but what really was interesting to me was actually engaging with all of these different people. But then again, like, you don't actually have access to all walks of life, right? Like, back to the point, like, not everyone can access university education.
And you traveled pretty widely, and I would assume that also kind of expanded your horizon even more, just like having that experience.
I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please make sure to subscribe, like and share, and please follow the Instagram account for more updates about the upcoming videos, and see you guys next time.